In this episode, we give you just the tips
for learning new scratches.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Skratch Snobs. I'm Akiko Love, this is Mike C, and in this episode, we're just giving the tips
for learning new scratches.
Woohoo! Kudos to Mike for all his great work on the juggle content that he's been coming out with recently. We're going to switch gears and go into some Skratch content now. And like this video title suggests, we want to go ahead and give the best advice and practice tips that we've learned throughout our Skratch career.
Yeah, I feel like the kind of the standard answer you get when you ask people, hey, how do I get better at scratching? They just say, practice, or, how do I learn new scratches? Oh, just practice. I mean, obviously practice and discipline and repetition are a big part of the process, but I think it's also good to kind of try to work smart so that the effort you put in will be most effective.
Awesome. All right, so let's go with tip number one. Mike, you had kind of like a preliminary tip.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, when you're learning any new scratch, the very first thing you have to do is understand that new scratch that you're trying to learn. I mean, if you don't know what pattern it is you're trying to create, how are you going to create it? If you're trying to learn a particular scratch, you need to understand that scratch as much as you can, even before your hands go on the record to try to do it. And what I mean by that is it's helpful to be able to draw the scratch out visually using like TTM, turntablist transcription methodology, for example. And you should know how the scratch that you're trying to learn basically sounds. Like, for example, is it a 3-note scratch? Is it a 6-note scratch like an orbit? Or is it a 9-note scratch like an Autobahn? Like, you should kind of know what it is you're trying to learn before you attempt it.
So with that, just kind of piggyback, TTM definitely helped me progress as a better Skratch DJ. Early in the 2000s, when Autobahns and multi-click kind of Skratch variations became more popular, I just did not conceptually understand how these scratches were executed. And with TTM drawing them out, I understand, okay, well, this is the drag, or this is where a tear is supposed to be, and this is where a click's supposed to be.
You got a dry erase thing up here?
I do. But you want to, that could be a whole different other episode. We can dip into that. Just a little tease right there. Just the tips, remember.
Just the tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels.
Okay.
So, yeah, drawing it out really just helped me understand. I'm like, oh, this is where the clicks are supposed to be, where the drags are supposed to be, and this is how I'm supposed to execute the scratch. I like to do as much video study as possible, so if there are particular DJs who are executing the scratch, if I could get as many angles of the scratch, how they're holding the fader, how they're doing the clicks, or the hand positioning on the vinyl, that also helps with that learning.
Yeah, for any given scratch you might be trying to learn, odds are there's multiple videos by different people on YouTube explaining how to do that particular scratch. And I say watch all of them. Just each one might kind of give you a different insight or a different tip that might make the difference in helping you to learn it.
And I see a little note here, the difference between sessioning and training. Do you want to expand on that?
Just know that when you're trying to learn a particular new scratch, you're going to have to focus on it for a while. What Akiko just mentioned, the difference between sessioning and training. I mean, if you're just scratching to, enjoy yourself for the day, I mean, by all means, just cut it up, put a beat on and cut it up. But if you're trying to learn a particular new scratch, I mean, you're going to have to just focus on that and just practice that over and over in concentrated amounts of time. Otherwise, you just won't have the reps.
It's like having a workout plan.
In basketball, like, you can roll a ball out there, get your friends together, and you can run a game and it'll be fun. And that's kind of like sessioning. You just put a beat on and you scratch. But if you're trying to get better at three-pointers in particular, then you need to stand there and shoot threes over and over.
Right on. Okay, and so when we got that preliminary kind of understanding of what the scratch is, what it sounds like, what it looks like, then the practical like kind of application when you touch the turntables, you want to start off slow.
I think everyone will tell you that when you're learning a new scratch, it's good to be able to do it to a slow beat before you do it to a fast beat. But I'll take that a step further. When I'm learning a new scratch, I mean, I don't even have a beat on. Like, I'll be doing it a cappella just so I can kind of focus on the sounds that are coming out of my hands, and I can make sure they're the right sounds that I need to be making. I learned the scratch a cappella. I just focus on doing it correctly and cleanly. Often with these scratches, you have to learn them in parts. So I'll kind of learn the parts individually, and then I'll try to connect them so that it flows a little bit. When it does flow enough, then I'll start to do it to a really slow beat. And by slow, I mean like 50 or 60 BPM. I mean, for me, that's how, when I first start doing a scratch to a beat, it'll be that slow.
Great tips. I basically follow those same principles as well. It's kind of segue to your next tip, using a beat trainer, right?
Speed trainer, yeah. So there's certain beat looper apps, for example, the D Styles app, that, you know, they have a speed trainer function, which I think is really helpful because that way you can just practice your scratch just repetitively, and then it enables you to bump the speed up without interrupting your flow. That is, without having to stop and adjust your beat, make it faster, and start again. With these speed trainer apps, you can just keep doing the scratch over and over to the beat, and they gradually get faster, and hopefully you will too.
You know, with the idea of starting slow, you really want to keep in mind about mechanics, making sure you're efficient with movements and you're executing the scratches as they need to be. You're not doing extra things and muddling the scratch.
Yeah, I mean, just I won't sidetrack us too much, but just a real quick example of the efficiency that Akiko is talking about is, you know, on your fader, it only needs to move a tiny bit to let all the sound out. So don't waste movement and effort by moving it further along than you need to. Just move it barely enough to get the sound out. If you watch your favorite fast scratchers, I'm pretty sure that the fader just barely moves enough to let the sound out. They're not wasting any movement because they're trying to be as fast as they can.
Actually, I was going to make a whole different episode just on that. Just this movement here, and the efficiency, like hand release, like some DJs.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. You'll have to tune in for a deep dive into that.
Just the tip? Just the tip! Just the tip!
One more note about building speed. You can kind of correlate it to weight training. Like, say you're trying to learn squats. You know, you need to learn how to do them perfectly and with good form at a low weight before you get greedy and try to throw all these plates on there. Likewise with scratching, before you bust out with the 150 BPM, learn to do it cleanly at, 70 first. Make sure it's perfect at slow to normal speeds before you think about bumping the speed up. Okay, so far we've been talking about getting the technique down perfectly and cleanly in a new scratch that you're learning. And we also talked about bumping the speed up gradually while maintaining that cleanliness. So after I've built up some speed, for me, the next part of mastering a new scratch is being able to connect in and out of that new scratch from all the other scratches that I already knew. Because typically when I learn a new scratch, if I'm not comfortable with it yet, I have to like stop, think about it, get ready, and then do the new scratch, since I'm not totally comfortable just going into it right away. But when I am comfortable with the scratch and when I really have it down, I'll know I'm at that point when I can go in and out of that scratch kind of at will, and flowing in and out with the scratches I knew how to do before that.
Beautifully said. Yep. Learning how to connect and phrase your new scratches with your old vocabulary. So other useful tips is to get feedback from your peers or your coaches. So
someone who knows how to do the scratch you're trying to learn.
There you go. So, it's so much easier these days. You just do a quick video recording of your session and just throw it out to your friends and see if they could give you any suggestions if your mechanics are bad or if your timing's off or whatever the case may be.
Even aside from sending it to other people, I mean, just record yourself and watch yourself scratch, as much as possible. That way it'll kind of show you how good you really are or are not, and you can adjust accordingly. I mean, there's times when I think, I did some decent scratching or whatever, and then I go back and watch the video or listen to the recording, and it's like, I guess what actually came out was not as dope as I thought it was, or, when I was doing it. So it's important to kind of have that external observation. Otherwise, you might just assume you're doing something that you're actually not.
And a final few tips. A way to instantly double your Skratch vocabulary is to learn your scratches in reverse and to learn scratches on both hands.
Anyway, we'll be diving deeper into these topics in future episodes. So if you didn't totally follow something, don't worry about it. We'll fill you in. But we just wanted to kind of throw this list of general ideas out there to get this series started. And yeah, we'll be focusing on scratching. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
I've got the perfect girl for you.
Janice, I apologize to you if I don't seem real eager to jump into a forced, awkward, intimate situation that people like to call dating. I don't like the feeling. You're sitting there, you're wondering, do I have food on my face? Am I eating? Am I talking too much? Are they talking enough? Am I interested? I'm not really interested. Should I play like I'm interested, but I'm not that interested? But I think she might be interested, but do I want to be interested? But now she's not interested. So now all of a sudden I'm starting to get interested. And when am I supposed to kiss her? Do I have to wait for the door? Because then it's awkward. It's like, well, good night. Do you do like the ass out hug? Where you hug each other like this and the ass sticks out because you're trying not to get too close? You just go right in and kiss them on the lips, or don't kiss them at all. It's very difficult trying to read the situation. And all the while, you're just really wondering, are we going to get hopped up enough to make some bad decisions? And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Okay, can you put that so he can't see it? And thank you. Hey, Janice, great talk.
Break it down.
Yo, yeah. Y'all know.
Pump it up. Yeah. Damn. What it do? We got the funky track.
Y'all know me. Slice and dice.
Kick the real shit. Y'all can't stop me now.